Professor Victor. I'm taking over the channel now. Surprise! Hello everybody and welcome back to the Horror Movie Syllabus. My name is Professor Victor and I'll be your host as we go through all of the essential, noteworthy, interesting, and notorious modern horror films. If you're new to the channel, I recommend you check out the introduction video. It'll give you a pretty good idea of what we do here at the Horror Movie Syllabus, which is, in short, to look at a particular subgenre of horror and then pick 3 movies from that subgenre to explore. And we've done 100 of these on the Horror Movie Syllabus. We've actually started another 100 with our Horror Movie Supplement, which is an additional 100 subgenres to the original 100 subgenres that we looked at before. Ones that are a little bit more niche, a little bit more, newer or just more unique or kind of small or myopic or just things that I'm interested in. And that's kind of what we're doing today because we're looking at snake horror movies. We're looking at horror movies about snakes. And the horror movies about snakes are interesting because they are essentially creature features, right? Just like any other kind of monster movie or, movie with the animal or whatever like that. It's a creature feature, and yet it tends to be a little bit more differing or have a little bit more variety in it than the average creature feature because the way that the snakes get used a lot of the time in these movies is different from, like, say, shark movies or something like that, where they're always usually kind of doing the same thing, although shark movies have really kind of gone off the rails, but, that's a different video for another time. But the snakes in these movies are tending to be the central focus of the movie. And it's interesting because the way that the snakes get used a lot of time in these movies, especially the older movies, is kind of like more of a kind of a phobia thing, like a photophobia kind of thing, fear of snakes. It's like basically relying on the snakes themselves to be scary just because they're snakes, and that's supposed to be what scares the audience. So if you're not afraid of snakes, or if you find them kind of cute, which I kind of do, that kind of thwarts a lot of the scariness of these movies. And I would argue that most of what we're looking at today, if not all of it, isn't super scary so much as it is just fun. For horror movies, they're kind of light on the horror and more on the fun and like this slithery goodness of the snakes. So that's like the thing. Snakes are the central focus of most of these movies, if not all of the movies, but they might not be the scariest things unless you're afraid of snakes. If you're afraid of snakes, this is going to be a rough one for you. I'm not going to lie to you. If you have that phobia, then this is going to be a little rough. But honestly, I think it's worth it because I think we've got some really fun movies to talk about today. And of course, I've organized the movies into undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate level like I usually do. And in this case, they're going to go in escalating order of how much snake action we're going to get on this one. So why don't we go ahead and just slither on into these snake horror movies. The first snake horror movie that we're looking at today, the undergraduate level selection, is Venom. No, not that Venom. This one came out in 1981 and was directed by Piers Haggard, who directed Blood on Satan's Claw, which we've talked about here on the channel before. Great movie. And he actually was interestingly replacing Toby Hooper, who left the project at some point due to creative differences. So he was taking over for Hooper and kind of making the movie his own. And it's interesting. The behind the scenes on this stuff is really interesting, but also the movie itself is pretty interesting. Now, if you haven't seen it before, the movie is about a terrorist plot to kidnap a young boy who is a member of an important family and then hold him hostage. But what these terrorist kidnappers don't know is the boy had recently gotten a new snake, and he got the wrong snake. He's gotten a black mamba instead of the benign snake that he was supposed to get. And the black mamba's gotten loose, and it is the most venomous, poisonous, dangerous snake in the world. And this snake throws a major problem and major wrench into the plans of these kidnappers. And of course, hijinks abound. I'm going to go ahead and stop there so it's not spoil the movie for you. And the interesting thing about this movie is right off the bat, we're showing an example of a movie where it's not so much a creature feature as it is just like a movie where it's using snakes as part of the motivating threat or danger. It really is using them in kind of a unique way. And we're going to see this kind of pop up throughout this video. Snakes being used in a way it's not just being monsters that attack, but also in other ways. And in this way, it's a threat. It's a loose threat wandering around through the air ducts while these guys are holding these hostages. Honestly, it's Snake Die Hard. It's Snake Die Hard, and I kind of love it for that. I mean, literally, you've got Snake McClane going through the air ducts. He doesn't say, come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs. But if he would have, it would have been awesome, frankly. But what you've got are these terrorists who are not expecting this wrinkle, this added problem in their plans. And it works really, really well. partly because you've got a really stacked cast here, a really killer cast of great performers. You've got Klaus Kinski and you've got Oliver Reed as their two main kidnapper terrorists, and it is awesome. You've got Susan George in the movie, you've got Sterling Hayden. It really is a great cast, and they're giving really great performances. Now, again, the director Haggard had talked about in the in terms of behind the scenes how much problems he had with the cast because you got Oliver Reed just kind of being an arrogant guy, and Klaus Kinski being a pain. He's a legend, but he's a problem. And if you know anything about him, if you don't research it, he's a problem. And but he gives great performances, and they're giving great performances here to a movie that arguably doesn't deserve it because this is a ridiculous story. The plot of this movie is absolutely ridiculous, and they've decided to play this completely straight, which I think lends itself to why it's so much fun. Like, for better or worse, the movie is taking itself completely seriously, and everybody's committing to this. And again, you've got really great actors here committing their all to these roles, giving it like real weight when it's so silly. Basically, like they're afraid the snake's going to get them, and they're trying to do this plot that is kind of half baked to begin with. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's fun. It's fun. Again, I don't think it's meant to be fun in the way that it is. I think they meant it to be scarier. It's not very scary, but it is fun. You've got this snake, and the snake attack is actually really, really cool. It's really, really fun. If you are afraid of snakes, this one's going to trigger you a little bit because it's pretty fun. And the death that they have in there, it's great stuff. The snake suspense is also fun. Like, you're wondering where the snake's going to pop up, where it could be, having to go into places knowing the snake might be in there. That stuff's played really, really well. It's good filmmaking here. It's really solid. Like, the pacing of the movie works really well. The camera angles, everything is working good. The acting is like superb. The score is really bombastic and lively. It really is ramping up. It's doing a lot of the heavy lifting of the action of the movie. Frankly, that score helps it a lot. It could use a little bit more snake action. I'm not gonna lie. The snake stuff is good. I wish there was more of it. Like I said, most of this movie is focusing on the terrorist plot, the kidnapping, and it works good. It's fine. Like, it's entertaining. It's enjoyable. Again, I think because of the ridiculousness of it and how serious it's played, it's fun in a way that I don't think Pierce Haggard intended it for it to be. But it works. It works. It's entertaining, and the snake stuff when it pops up is good. Again, I just wish there were more snake stuff. I was a little reluctant to put this on here as a snake movie because the snake stuff needs to be ramped up in this movie. It really does. But it's kind of well known as a snake movie. It's got a good reputation as one of the better snake horror films. And I mean, kind of maybe that says a lot about the snake subgenre to begin with. But it works for me. The fact that it's so well made and so well acted just underscores like the campy aspect of this. It's unintentionally campy. It's fun. I have a good time with this one. I enjoy this one a lot. Like, watching it as a kid, even I could tell that I wasn't taking it as seriously as the movie wanted me to. And as an adult, I just appreciate that. I enjoy that. It's a lot of fun. This is a movie that, like I said, if you're afraid of snakes, it might get under your skin a little bit. But if you're not, like, this is going to be a fun romp for you. You just have to go in understanding that as serious as this movie is, don't take it seriously. It's wanting you to do something. It's not delivering what it's trying to deliver, and that's part of the charm. That's part of what makes it so much fun. So I wanted to talk about this one and bring it up because I do enjoy it. I do think it's a lot of fun. I do think it's worth your time. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Let me know. But if you have seen it, let me know what you think of it because I have a fond spot for this one, and I'm wondering if everybody else does too. Like I said, my research tells me that this one is one of the better regarded snake horror movies, so I'm guessing you guys like it too, but let me know in the comments below. Okay, the next snake horror movie that we're looking at today, the graduate level selection, is Anaconda. Anaconda came out in 1997 and was directed by Luis Llosa, who is really no more of like an action director. He did like The Specialist, he did Sniper, and frankly, this one is probably a little bit more action than horror. Like I said, it's not as scary, but it really is kind of more of an action and fun movie. Now, if you haven't seen it before, the movie follows a documentary film crew that travels to the Amazon rainforest and partners up with this obsessive snake hunter to explore the Amazon and look for this giant green anaconda that's kind of renowned or mythical and part of this Amazonian tribe out there. And well, they get a little bit more than they were expecting when they find the snake, and hijinks abound. And of course, again, I'm going to stop there and not spoil it more. But this movie is wild. It's kind of a cultural phenomenon, frankly. When it came out, it was just a campy, silly movie, and everybody knew it. And I think that the movie kind of knows this. It's playing it pretty much straight, pretty much, but it kind of doesn't shy away from the idea that it's being campy, right? So right off the bat, what you've got is a really, again, stacked cast. You've got Jennifer Lopez at kind of the early part of her popularity. You've got Ice Cube. You've got John Voight, Eric Stoltz, Kari Wurr, Owen Wilson, Danny Trejo. It's wild how many great people are in this movie. Some of them in kind of smaller roles, even. A lot of them before they were super big, but it's a really stacked cast of people. But they're not necessarily giving the best of performances, and it's not necessarily their fault. Like the characters are kind of caricature-y. They are a little bit like clunky, especially in the way they're introduced. They're very introduced like in a kind of a clunky, ham-fisted, caricature-y way. That to me, again, kind of underscores that maybe this movie is trying to lean a little bit into the camp aspects of a giant snake attacking them. And I think that's the wise thing to do, but they play it serious. And I think that seriousness enhances the silliness of the movie. Like the playing a seriousness of it makes it it's what makes it funny, frankly. And nothing illustrates this more than John Voight playing a Paraguayan snake hunter and the ridiculous accent that he's doing. That is, frankly, pretty embarrassing, but is arguably the best part of this movie. That is so bad that it's good. Like it's hysterical. John Voight is hysterical in this movie. He's absolutely ridiculous, and it's like he kind of got the assignment. He understood what this movie was supposed to be, and everybody else is playing it perfectly straight, thinking they're in a really good movie. And that's part of what makes it work, you know? They committed to this again and make it really fun. Like, look, it's campy right there. The honestly, the snake effects are pretty decent. If you know, for CGI snakes, there is some practical puppetry stuff there too, but it's a lot of CGI, and the effects are campy, but they work. They're fun, and the movie is good about keeping the pace up, keeping the attacks going, keeping them to be fun and exciting, and kind of like a little gross and stuff like that. And you know, you're getting these kind of interpersonal relationships with the characters, and it's all working. It's all very entertaining. It does lull a little bit here and there because again, it's trying to be serious, but when it's clicking, when it's doing its thing, when the snake's attacking, it's working gangbusters. Now, predictably, the critics didn't love this movie. It's pretty critically maligned, but the box office was there, man. People went to see this movie, maybe because of the cast, maybe because people just really wanted a giant snake movie, but it became a cult classic. It was a hit. And like, look, again, critics didn't like it. Apparently, it almost swept the Razzies. It lost to the Postman or something like that. But it was a really maligned movie when it came out. But fans loved it so much so that they have made a sequel. They made sequels. They made a whole franchise out of it. They've recently done a reboot of that, which I did saw. And actually, this movie was supposed to come out. This video was supposed to come out a few months ago to kind of align with the release of that movie, but life got in the way, so we're getting it now. But I did see that reboot. I thought it was pretty fun. They did a crossover with Lake Placid, which we have talked about on the channel before. This movie is in the cultural zeitgeist. People enjoy this. It is a true cult following. In fact, it's almost lit to call it a cult following because it's kind of a mainstream following. Again, they did a reboot with Jack Black and Paul Rudd that's showing mainstream appeal for this movie. Now, it wasn't a super big hit, so there's that, but it's got more mainstream cred than a lot of other cult classics. So this movie is a fun movie that people like quite a bit, and I'm one of those people. I enjoy it quite a bit. The sequels are diminishing returns. It's, you know, it gets a little less fun, and it's hard to balance that campness and the seriousness. This movie gets that mix, in my opinion, very, very right. And I know I'm not alone. I know a lot of you guys like this movie too. Let me know in the comments what it is that you like about it. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. Again, snake phobias aside, this is a fun one. And the snakes don't look particularly real most of the time, so I don't think it'll be that big of an issue. But let me know what you think about this one too. Again, go in expecting a campy good time with a movie that's trying to be a little serious, and enjoy the results of that. And our third snake horror movie that we're looking at today, the postgraduate level selection, is Snakes on a Plane. Snakes on a Plane came out in 2006 and was directed by David R. Ellis, who was the director of Final Destination 2, which is arguably the best one in the Final Destination franchise. But he was also the director of Final Destination 4, which is inarguably the worst one in the franchise. So Mixed bag, right? But this is one that he got a lot of high profile attention to, and we're going to go into that in just a second. First, if you haven't seen it before, the movie is about an FBI agent played by Sam Jackson who is transporting a material witness who's going to testify against a crime lord. And he's going to travel by plane from Hawaii to get to the mainland. But the crime lord has managed to get a crate of snakes put onto this plane that will get released in the hopes that the snakes will create havoc and eventually kill this material witness so that he is no longer able to testify. The snakes do, in fact, get out, and snake hijinks abound on the plane. But we're going to go ahead and stop there and not spoil it too much. But honestly, what's to spoil? The movie's plot is basically irrelevant. It's snakes on a plane. The title tells you exactly what you need to know and then delivers on that. Now, it's worth noting here that this movie is, once again, stacked cast. And it's weird. It's weird this time because you've got Sam Jackson, you've got Juliana Margulies, you've got Kenan Thompson, Lynn Shay, Bobby Cannavale, David Koechner, Taylor Kitsch. It's crazy the number of people that they got to be in this movie, and I can't for the life of me figure out how. Like, I've seen Sam Jackson talk about this, and he was just like, "Yeah, I want to do this. It sounds like fun." He's basically kind of like, "Yeah, I don't care that it's like basically a B movie. I'm going to do it." But everybody doing this, was the money really good? I couldn't figure out if they were just getting really paid really, if the budget was crazy high. I know the budget was high. We're going to get into that in a second. But I was really surprised by how many people are in this movie, aside from Sam Jackson. It's wild. And it's funny because they're all playing into their caricatures. They're all kind of known for something. Like Taylor Kitsch is kind of the bad boy, like sexy dude. David Koechner is like the pig, the sexist pig. Sam Jackson, the action dude, the MF guy. They're all kind of playing into their stereotype characters. And so that just kind of gives a shortcut to the movie. Instead of doing character development, it's just casting recognizable people that you will recognize in a way and using them in a way that is familiar, and it works. It works. Again, this movie is not terribly interested in giving you plot or character development or anything like that. It wants to give you snake on a plane action, and that's what the appeal of the movie was. This movie, if you weren't around in 2006 to understand this, it blew up on the internet. The buzz on this was insane, basically just from the title. And then they released a trailer, Sam Jackson saying, MF snakes on an MF plane. Like, people lost their minds for this. It was hyped. It was like people were going nuts for this. And then it came out. And the box office wasn't there. The hype that was on the internet for this didn't translate into box office. People were excited for the idea of it, but people weren't really that excited for the actual movie, which is a shame too, because the studio doubled down on this. When the buzz started picking up this movie, and it started getting crazy buzz, big time buzz, everybody was talking about this, then the studio decided to put more money into this to amp up the snake action and amp up like the blood and the sex and the gore and all that, to violence, to give it an R rating. Because people were clearly expecting that with the title of the movie, and they had made a PG-13 movie. So they ramped it up a little bit. They did, and it works. It helps the movie to have the snakes doing ridiculous things like biting the woman on her nipple. Like, that's ridiculous, Like, the snakes do these weird things that are just kind of inappropriate and hilarious. They're really playing it up for laughs. This is a movie that knows exactly what it wants to be. You can tell from the title. It knows what it's trying to do, and it's going to go and do it. What's weird is how much A-list talent and how much budget was given to this, because it's a total B movie. It wants to be a B movie, but the studio is trying to make an A-list movie out of it, and it's a weird idea to do that. It's really, really strange. And frankly, it works. Like, the snake action in this is a blast. I think it's a lot of fun. It's mostly CGI. There are a little bit of practical effects, but it's mostly CGI effects, and they work pretty fine. They weren't great. They weren't great then. They're not great now, but they are very effective because the gags work in this movie. The silly things that the snake do work. Most of the jokes land me. That's not an uproariously funny movie, but most of the jokes in the movie land for me. I do find this to be a good time. I think it's funny. I think it's enjoyable. And they get snake vision in this movie, right? They're showing you things from the snake's point of view, and it's absolutely hilarious. And a little bit suspenseful too. Again, not in a scary way, really more in an action way. And it works. It's a fun movie. This movie defies you to take it seriously. It's not going to take itself seriously. You're not going to take it seriously. You know that going in. You know from the title that it's not a movie to take seriously, and you're not going to, but it is fun. It is a fun movie. It's so hard for a movie to be intentionally campy and be successful. and this one is. Now, maybe my opinion is in the minority because this movie, again, it wasn't popular in the box office. It didn't spawn a bunch of direct-to-video sequels or anything like that, like Anaconda did. This movie kind of disappeared. People remember it because, again, Snakes on a Plane, they remember that phenomenon. That title stands out, but people don't seem to have a reverence for this. Nobody's clamoring for a remake or a reboot or a sequel or anything. I would be down for that because I think this movie's fun. Again, I'm so impressed when a movie can do what it's doing, be stupid intentionally and work. This movie pulls it off, and I really enjoy it. Again, managed expectations. You go in expecting it to be schlocky and silly, and that's exactly what you're going to get. If you go in expecting a really great movie or a thriller or something like that, you're going to be disappointed. But I mean, watch the trailer. It gives you exactly what this is. And if you haven't seen it, this is the one where again, the snake phobia is a tough thing because it's going to kind of stop you from seeing any of these movies. But if you don't have that problem, this one's fun. It's not going to scare you, but it's fun. It's worth the time, in my opinion. And if a lot of you have probably seen this, and if you have a different opinion, I'd like to know in the comments why, like what doesn't hit for you, because I think this one's a blast. I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger cult hit. I'm surprised people don't remember it as fondly and or want more because I do. But apparently I'm in the minority, and so let me know why I'm in the minority. But by all means, if you haven't seen it, give it your time. It's worth it. So those are our selections for snake horror movies, but of course, we've got extra credit selections to discuss as well because the more snakes, the better, right? So the first extra credit movie I want to talk about is came out in 1973. And yes, that is literally its name. It's like seven S's. And it's directed by Bernard L. Kowalski, who is a Polish director who is probably best known for a lot of TV work. He does a lot of TV work. It seems like the biggest movie that he did is this movie. And it's kind of a well-known cult classic. So this was his kind of claim to fame feature film-wise. Now, if you haven't seen it before, the movie is about a herpetologist who is studying snakes in an effort to try to develop a serum that will turn human beings into big snakes. And then he starts to experiment on his daughter's new love interest boyfriend. And that guy who thinks he's apprenticing the doctor and studying the snakes starts to experience some changes. Things start to go poorly and hijinks abound. And we'll stop there, of course, and not spoil the movie. This movie, however, it is admittedly kind of silly in terms of concept and in terms of execution. So right off the bat, this is a 1970s film. It's an early 70s film, and it has that 70s pacing. And you're going to feel that a little bit because it's a little bit of a slow movie. Not a lot of snake action early on, not a lot of horror in general early on. It's really a lot more about relationship drama, both in terms of like this girl who meets this guy, and she likes him, the guy played by Dirk Benedict, the girl played by Heather Menzies, both kind of famous 70s actors. And they are having their relationship. Meanwhile, you've got her dad, a herpetologist, who's played by famous character actor Strother Martin, who is pretty great in the role, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And he's got this issue with getting his grant and his funding with the head of the department at the university. And there's all these kind of like the relationship issues going on. And the movie's focused on that a lot. And the snakes are kind of in the background. And the snake serum stuff is kind of just like kind of slowly in the undertones being developed. And then it kind of doesn't go bug nuts until the very end of the movie. And that's a little bit of an issue because like the acting isn't very good, honestly, for the most part. Dirk Benedict and Heather Menzies have no chemistry. They're not given the strongest of performances. They're actually pretty bad, and it's enhanced by the fact that the dialogue in this movie is incredibly silly. Their chemistry is not there, and the stuff they have to say to each other is absolutely ridiculous. And this is a big part of the movie, and it just does not work at all. But it so doesn't work that it kind of becomes fun. It's a kind of a so bad it's good situation. It really does get kind of silly watching this courtship be very clunky and awkward, and it works for me. It really does, but not because it's not the way it's supposed to. It's just really kind of bad. But Strother Martin is kind of a highlight here. He's actually pretty great as the professor. He's really charming. He kind of has like this Vincent Price vibe to him that I really appreciate. He is the best part of the movie for sure. The kind of mad scientist aspect of what he's doing is wild, and that's where the thing gets really good. Now, it's worth noting all the snakes in this movie are real snakes. They used real snakes here, and that adds something to the movie because there's no CGI back in 1973. There's no puppetry going on here. It's just real snakes, and it looks good. But the snakes are portrayed largely in the movie as pets, as safe, really, for the most part. And so they're less threatening as a result. They're not as scary. So again, unless you got a snake phobia, you're not really scared of the snakes in this movie for the most part. And that's a little bit challenging, of course, for a horror movie, right? Devoid of scares here. But what you really get is, again, the campy aspect of the relationships and then the campy aspect of the snake transformation towards the end of the movie. And that's where this movie gets its reputation. The snake effects of turning the boy into the snakes is pretty wild. It's really cool looking. Actually, I think the makeup effects hold up really well in this movie, and I can see that's why it's got its cult classic status, is this makeup job. It's a lot of fun. It works really, really well, and it's definitely the best part of the movie in terms of like the plot and the action. And this final act, when the snake transformation happens, is where everything picks up and gets really exciting, really good. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The Snake Man is awesome. He doesn't do that much. It doesn't quite pay off as much as you'd like it to. And the ending of this movie is absolutely, positively ridiculous. But it's also what I think makes this a cult classic. I'm not going to spoil it, of course, here, but it's a ridiculous ending. And it's dumb. It's a dumb ending, I'll be honest with you. But that's what makes it fun. Again, this is another one of those movies where they tried to play it mostly straight. At least it feels like they tried to play it mostly straight, and just did not have the skill and wherewithal to make this a particularly good movie. It's not a particularly good movie, and that's where its enjoyment lies. And that, and again, the Snake Man is super cool. That's the reason to see this movie. Now, again, this one I wouldn't rank this one as high as the ones we've already talked about. I can't say for certain that you're going to enjoy it because again, it is a bit of a slog. It is a bit slow, not even a slow burn, just slow. It's silly and campy, but that's what I love about it. And honestly, the slow parts, even though they're slow, the bad acting and bad dialogue makes for an enjoyable ride for me. So I have a special place for this one in my heart. I'm guessing some of you might as well, those of you that have seen it. So let me know in the comments if you've seen it and you like this one, because I like having somebody on my side on this one. Because again, this one, it's a little bit edgy as to whether or not you might enjoy this one. But if you do give it a chance, let me know what you think of it, because I'd be very interested in hearing what you think. The next extra credit movie I want to talk about is Jennifer. Jennifer came out in 1978 and was directed by Bryce Mack, who, as far as I can tell, is kind of just like a B horror movie director. This is, again, another one where I think this is probably his most noteworthy feature film. And this is, another one of these movies where it's kind of more of a cult classic rather than being like an actual bona fide great movie. But we're going to get into that in just a second. Now, if you haven't seen it before, the movie follows this young girl from the hills who is attending a boarding school, but she's getting bullied by the rich girls because she's a poor girl who's on scholarship. But unbeknownst to them, she has the power to telekinetically control snakes. It's part of her religious upbringing that her religious father had instilled in her, and she's afraid of it, and she doesn't want to use it. She just wants to make friends and be accepted, but the girls at school are bullying her and kind of pushing her closer and closer to the edge. And of course, when she gets to that edge, things are going to go bad and hijinks are going to abound. But I'm going to stop there to not spoil the movie for you. But if you listen to my kind of general explanation or description of this movie's plot, it might sound a little familiar to you, because it might sound a little bit like the movie Carrie. And that is the most common criticism and critique of this movie, is that it's a kind of a Carrie clone or a Carrie ripoff. And honestly, I cannot argue with that. That is very much so what it is. Now, here's the thing. Carrie is made by Brian De Palma. It's based on a Stephen King story. It's got a great pedigree. It's got great stuff behind and in front of the camera. It's a quality film. Jennifer does not have those advantages. Jennifer is clearly a lower budget movie with less talented people working on it, and the quality dip shows in the movie. But that is, again, part of its charm, right? Like right off the bat, you've got this ridiculous opening song called Jennifer that is just so overwrought and sappy and just saccharine 70s, like adult contemporary, and it's hilarious. And right off the bat, it kind of gives you the vibes of this is going to be so bad it's good. And for the most part, that's where we're sitting. Like, there are things about this movie that are bona fide good. The biggest one being Lisa Pelican, who plays Jennifer, our lead character. Now, let me be clear. She's no Sissy Spacek, okay? The Sissy Spacek gives an incredible performance in Carrie. Lisa Pelican is doing a similar thing, but she doesn't have that same awkward, weird goofiness. In fact, arguably a little too pretty to be playing this role, but she's got these crazy eyes and she plays it really, really well. Her performance is very, very good. So you can kind of buy into the awkward bullied girl because she's selling it with her performance. And honestly, a lot of the performance in here are really good. A lot of the actors here are saying the bully girls work really, really well too. In fact, the lead bully girl is excellent. You love to hate her. She really plays it big and plays it well. She seems like she got the assignment. She understands she's in something a little bit campy and she's living it up. She's chewing scenery and it's really, really good. The performances are a large part of what carry this movie. No pun intended there, because it really does feel like Carrie Light. Like, if I'm being honest with you, plot wise, it's hitting a lot of the same beats, a lot of the same backstory and stuff like that. These similarities are wild. Like, you've got this outcast girl, and she's got a single parent who's a religious nut. In this case, it's a dad instead of a mom. But he's deeply religious and he's always on her about religion and trying to force religion on her, and he's abusive. You've got the bully girls, they're very similar in the way they act. One of them has a red sports car, one of the guys has a red sports car. It's very, very similar. It's very much wearing its influence on its sleeve, to be honest with you. It's doing a lot of the same kind of things. But what I like about this is that they have the different angle of the snakes. Now, what's funny about that is that it makes it less threatening than Carrie. Like, Carrie's telekinesis could just destroy anything. Jennifer relies on snakes to do her bidding. And so they have snakes popping up out of nowhere. It's weird. Like, the snakes come out of nowhere. And like, when they do, it's a lot of fun. You don't get the snake action again till towards the end of the movie. It takes a long time to get to the snake aspect of it. The vast majority of this is like high school drama stuff. And the high school drama stuff is entertaining. It's fun. Like I said, you've got like these characters kind of playing it big, and it's working for me. They're engaged in this. The like hijinks and the abuse and stuff like that that's going on to Jennifer is pretty wild. Now, I will say it kind of traipses across the line a little bit. There is a scene where a rape occurs, and while it's shot fairly tastefully, to be honest with you, it's a dark turn for this movie, and it feels a little out of place for the vibe of the movie. Even though the movie's got other things like other bad things happening, abuse to animals, abusive father, there's other dark things in this movie. They don't feel quite as off-putting as this one scene does. It really kind of threw me off a little bit for that one. But overall, the movie is still just keeping me engaged with these high school shenanigans. And then when the snakes pop up at the end, it's just a blast. It's a total blast. Like, when the snakes come out, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's shot in such a surreal, loopy LSD trip kind of way that fits the times rather well and fits the movie rather well. I think this movie is a blast. I like Lisa Pelican in this. I think that her dad is no Piper Laurie, but the relationship works really well. The main bully girl, who I forget the actor's name right now, is great in this. I think she's a lot of fun. It's just a fun movie. Like I said, it's Carrie, definitely. It's a Carrie ripoff. It definitely is. It's very obvious, but it's a pretty fun one. Like, Carrie plus snakes works for me. That works for me. And I mean, maybe not for everybody else. This is another one of those cult classics that has its fans, but is not kind of remembered as one of the greatest movies of all time or anything like that. But I wanted to shine a little light on it because I think it's a lot of fun. Have you seen Jennifer? Let me know if you have, because I'd like to know what you think about it. And again, it's another one that I'm a little reluctant to recommend, because it's just kind of know what you're getting yourself into here. It's not the most amazing movie. You'd be probably better off spending your time watching Carrie, but I do think it's worth the time if you can get into the spirit of it. And the last extra credit movie I want to talk about today is Stoner Snake. And yes, Stoner Snake, with a bunch of extra S's at the beginning of it. And it came out in 2025 and was directed by Daryl Hook, aka Mr. Meat Hook, aka part of the Wee Nerds, friend of the channel. And it's worth noting up front that I might be a little bit biased in bringing this one up here, because Daryl's kind of a pal. I actually contributed to the Kickstarter campaign for this. So, I have maybe a little bit of a biased angle here, but I wanted to try to look at this as objectively as I could and tell you a little bit about it, because I think it warrants a little bit of a conversation, frankly. Now, if you haven't seen it before, the movie follows an alien snake named Gullimer, who is crash landing on Earth and winds up getting blown smoke in his face, kind of gets addicted to weed, and now he's searching out more weed, and he's very homicidal in his efforts to get this weed, and he just wanders around, getting into hijinks, murdering people, and getting smoked out, and that's pretty much the entire plot of the movie, just a bunch of random hijinks strung together. But I'm not going to spoil it any more than that. And honestly, I couldn't spoil this because the plot of this movie is irrelevant. Daryl Hook has made a movie that is unabashedly a bad movie. And Daryl will be the first one to mention this. Now, if you don't know Mr. Meat Hook, he is, in my opinion, the encyclopedic knowledge of all things bad horror. He has a true affinity for shot-on-video, DIY-style, backyard horror. He loves it, he appreciates it, and he's made it here. He is not trying to make a good movie. The visual effects in this movie are laughably bad. There's even scenes where the visual effects are missing, kind of like in Velocipaster. Yeah, I've seen the gag before, but it still works, and it works really well here. The snake is a puppet. It's very clearly a puppet. You can see the hand operating the puppet. The snake changes periodically. It's just a different snake every once in a while. Now, they have a theme song, which, by the way, kind of slaps. The theme song for this is pretty good. This theme song kind of gives you a little bit of explanation of the snake, and it explains how it can change shape or change appearance. Dumb. Doesn't make any sense. Who cares? It's just so they can use different puppets, right? The gore in this is laughable, but kind of fun. The acting is, it's a mixed bag, mostly bad, if I'm being honest with you here. There's a couple of noteworthy people. Mel Heflin is in here. She's kind of a B movie queen here, and Clint Beaver, who plays Gullimer the Snake, is actually pretty great. He's doing the voice for Gullimer the Snake, and it's pretty great. But this is a low budget, unskilled effort, right? Like, the camera work is pretty basic. The green screen is not great. The lighting is not right for this. The sound issues are prevalent, and they are probably the biggest issue, technically speaking, with this movie, because there's a lot of dialogue in here, and sometimes you can't hear it so well. It's pedestrian editing, it's pedestrian shots, it's clunky dialogue, and a script that meanders, and a plot that doesn't matter. It's a lot of bad. It's a bad movie. But again, Daryl Hook is making a bad movie intentionally, because what he's done here is make a love letter to these shot on horror, bad, cheap horror movies made by people who love horror. And I've talked about this in my do-it-yourself video. My appreciation for this has grown over the years. I used to not like these movies very much, and I like them much more. I enjoy them much more, partly because of this channel, and partly because of people like Daryl, who just have such a love for the genre and an appreciation for this, that they just want to share it. They want to make it themselves. They want to do their own things. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for people who do this. And so does Daryl. And he's referencing them and name-checking them throughout this movie. This movie is incredibly meta with all of its references. And God bless Daryl for actually spelling some of the meta jokes out by, like, for example, some of the cameos by various directors, like the director of Amityville Vibrator, which I've seen for this channel, thanks to Daryl. And just having them do cameos here to have like a little bit of a inside joke that is kind of really for people who are in this community, who love these kind of movies. And you can see that love. You can see the love for the movies and for each other in this movie. And it's honestly kind of sweet. For a movie that is silly and dumb and has ridiculous gore and some really inappropriate scenes. The scene of Daryl watching duck pornography was more than I ever needed to see of Mr. Hook. Thank you for that. And by thank you, I mean not thank you. I'll never get that image out of my head. But that's the thing. All of this is lending itself towards just this sheer love and recognition for these types of movies and for the people who make them. And that's, I think, the part that I gravitate towards the most about this. And you know what? Here's the thing. Daryl's going to kind of hate the fact that I'm giving this movie praise. He relishes a bad review. He likes the fact that he's made a bad movie and that people are going to talk trash about it. And look, I'll be honest with you. Technically speaking, not a good movie. Right? Some of the acting's pretty painful. Some of the pacing's a little off. You know, the sound issues kill me. ADR, the whole thing then, man. I really want to get Daryl a microphone. I really, really do. Because, like, again, some of the jokes here work for me. Some of the line deliveries are funny. Some of the twists are funny. I had a good time with this. I never got bored watching this movie. I mean, it's 122 minutes. It's pretty lean. But I never got bored because I think throughout the movie, the charm shines through. Yes, the kills are bad. Yes, the snake's a puppet. Yes, all of this is true. But Daryl has such a passion for movies in general, bad movies in general, and this one in particular, that it's infectious. I can't help but feel it through the screen from him and from everybody else who made this movie with him. You can feel it. You can feel the love for this. And I'm sorry, that just makes me happy. It brings a smile to my face. Now, your mileage may vary on this. It's not going to be for everybody. It's going to be for a very niche group of people, a group of people that I don't know personally that well, but I've grown to appreciate who they are and what they do. And if you're not that person, or if you're not in that crowd, this one might not be for you. It's really going to depend on your patience for bad movies. It may drag at times, but for me, every time it started to drag, it would pull me right back in with something funny or ridiculous or campy or sweet or whatever. So I kept getting drawn into it and enjoying it. And then by the time it got to the ending, which is gleefully gory and silly, it felt like a payoff for me. It felt like it culminated in something that was pretty good, if not cheesy and silly and bad effects and bad acting, bad editing, all of that, it still wound up entertaining me. I had a good time with this. Now, again, not going to be for everybody, and maybe if you partake in a little Gollimer before you watch the movie, you might enjoy this more because it does feel like it would be something that somebody who is a little under the influence would appreciate more, especially the scene where Gullimer winds up going into like these weird, like kind of hallucinogenic situation. I don't want to spoil the movie. And again, whatever. Like, it's just, let's just suffice to say, if you smoked out a little bit, this movie might be a little bit more fun for you. Some pizza, some weed, some beer. It's going to be a good time. But again, if you can get into the spirit of this, if you can get into the Mr. Meat Hook spirit of just appreciating bad horror, schlocky horror for what it is, having a good time with people who just like making people's heads get chopped off and people's arms get chopped off and people getting bitten and dying and talking about horror movies, talking about schlocky horror movies, then I think you're going to like this one. I think you're going to like the meta aspect of this, the references to other movies, other people who are in the movie, the meta aspect of making a film. Like there's one part where they break the fourth wall. It's actually a blast. I can't help it. I enjoy this movie. I have a love for it. And yes, again, I'm a little bit biased on this because I know Daryl, I know Annie, his wife. They've been friends with the channel. They've recommended lots of movies to me, and I've got an affection for them. But even objectively, I think you could find the enjoyment in this movie. I think that the spirit and the love for the genre come through. And unless you're just an ice cold hearted person, I think this movie could win you over. But just know what you're getting yourself into. It's bad. It's trying to be bad, and it's unabashedly reveling in its badness. But it's got a lot of love too. So that's my thoughts on Stoner Snake, and that's my thoughts on the snake subgenre, the horror snake movies. I had a lot of fun with this one. These movies, again, they're not always the greatest movies, but they are a lot of fun, and I enjoy them very much. And now I enjoy looking at a horror trivia pursuit card. It's that time where I'm going to read a horror trivia pursuit card live on camera, hopefully get it right, and look like a genius rather than an idiot. And so, since we're talking about snakes, we're talking about monsters, let's look at the monster category on the card, and here's our question. What was the name of the actor that played the vampire at the center of 1922's Nosferatu? Now, here's the thing. I'm actually usually pretty good about actor names. I think I've mentioned this before that I know I've mentioned before many times. I'm not so good with character names most of the time, but actor names I tend to be pretty good at. But this is a movie that's over 100 years old, and I'm not pretty good at actors from 100 years ago, by and large, but I know the answer to this question. A, because Nosferatu is a seminal horror film. It's super important, and we've alluded to it and talked about it a little bit on this channel before. We are going to deep dive into it a little bit more in the future, but this movie is super important. So yeah, and this role of the vampire is super important. Now, the role is called Count Orlok, and I happen to know that because, again, super important movie, super well known, and I love it. But that's not what it's asking for. It's not asking for the character name. It's asking for the actor name. But I do know this in part because it's just, like, again, an important movie, and in part because of Shadow of the Vampire, which is another movie we've talked about on this channel before, the underrated movie that is basically about the making of the movie Nosferatu. And Willem Dafoe plays this actor who plays the vampire, and he gives an incredible performance. It's such a good movie. I've talked about it on the channel, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but check that one out if you haven't seen it. But it's a very memorable movie, and he plays this very memorable character who's a real person. And the lore behind that real person is kind of like lampooned, or lampoon may be the wrong word, but it's personified in the Shadow of the Vampire movie. So I know the answer to this question. So I prepped on a little bit to give you a little bit of time to think about this. I know this is not necessarily the easiest question. If you're a fan of Nosferatu, if you're a big horror fan, you might know this one. Because again, it's so noteworthy. It's so important. You kind of know this. But the casual fan might not know this one. It's not the easiest answer in the world. But time to take a guess. If you don't know, lock in a guess. Because I'm going to go ahead and answer. So lock it in. Are you good? Okay, so my answer is Max Schreck. Max Schreck, of course, played Count Orlok in Nosferatu. Check the card. Max Schreck, yes. And again, Willem Dafoe played Max Schreck. It's just a really unique, memorable name, too. It's kind of an easy to remember name, so that helps a little bit, too. But Did you get this question right? Did you guess wrong? If you guessed wrong, let me know what you guessed because I'd be interested in hearing your funny wrong answers. But thank you very much for hanging out with me and talking a little bit about snake horror. And I appreciate you sticking out to the end. If you got other snake movies that you think are cool that I should check out, let me know in the comments below what they are. If there's something that I haven't seen, I might check it out and do a video about it. And hey, even if it's not a snake movie, just you have recommendations you want me to check out, let me know because I do make videos about those too. And we'll check that out maybe next week. Probably not your recommendation next week because I probably already filmed that video. But until then, I'm just going to say, class dismissed. If you understand this, you speak parcel tongue. Congratulations, you're a wizard now.